Welcome to Wednesday night Satsang, the principle and the practice of unity. Let's take this moment now to center within, coming into an awareness of the breath, breathing in, letting go. Just taking a couple of deep cleansing breaths to center into the energy of the holy, the energy of the divine. Right where you are, whether you're in the pyramid tonight or live streaming with us, we recognize that you are on holy ground. And so we feel that sense of holy presence now, as the life energy of our very being, the rhythm of the breath, the flow of the energy in the body. Grateful to be in this now moment, this sacred sanctuary where there is no problem. There is only the present, the gift of the now. And so we receive this gift as we open, letting go of the day, becoming receptive to the power and presence of Spirit. What a joy it is to join together in unity as one. We are grateful, and so it is. So join with us as we chant our experience of the holy tonight. Bring that experience forth through your voice, through the vibration of the energy of your spirit expressed in song.
Holy, all is holy, all is God in this place, all is holy, holy, we are holy, all are God in this place, we are holy, holy, I am holy, I am God in this place, I am holy, all is holy, all is God in this place, all is holy, holy, we are holy, we are God in this place, we are holy, holy, I am holy, I am God in this place, I am holy.
As we turn to our mantra chant, Ek Onkar, recognizing God is one and I am one with all beings.
Ek Onkar, Ek Onkar, Ek Onkar,
And so I invite you to take a deep breath in, and I invite you to consider taking the next few moments to move perhaps to another room, if you're able to do that, if you can choose to, or choose another chair or position. You can rearrange your chair, and those of you here in the room can move your chair or just turn it in a different direction than you've been looking. Just allow yourself to give yourself a little permission to do something just a little differently. And just look at what you've positioned yourself to do. Some of you may choose to sit on the floor or stand. This will be about a 10-minute meditation, so consider that. Whatever you've chosen to do, I just invite you now to gaze at what is before you and use gentle eyes, just smiling eyes, without judgment, with awareness, with childlike awareness of just openness and expectation, and gently breathe into your body and notice, and continue to breathe in all the way out. And when you're ready, just begin to let your eyelids drop slowly, gently closed. And breathe. And as you breathe, imagine that your point of reference, where you're coming from, you enter the top of your own head, if you would. Just entering the top of your head, down into your, into the top of your head, into the interior of your head. Just feel yourself moving through that part of your being, down behind your eyes, down in the back of your throat, down your spine, and just begin to notice the interior of your being, of your body, of yourself. And notice the contour of your inner being, the inside of you, seeing yourself from the inside. not necessarily physiologically, but more palpably how it feels to be on the inside of you, your inner being, warm or cool, soft or hard, smooth, perhaps rough or troubled, wrinkled, perhaps knotted in some places. Breathing in and breathing. What color? What colors might you see in the interior, from the inside of you? Breathing, sliding down your spine gently, a little bit at a time, down to where you're seated. The interior, down your legs, all the way down from the interior of your being, down to your feet, on the inside of you. Breathing, opening, and slowly, inch by inch, moving back up on the inside of you, on the inside of your legs. As if you're being squeezed up gently and slowly, like toothpaste in a tube. Just traveling. No resistance. Breathing. Breathing. Notice how it feels to be on the inside of you, where there may be snags or troubles, constrictions, heat, coolness. If the color changes, if there's any color at all, until you reach your abdomen on the inside, the interior of your being, and gently, slowly continue upward into the center of your being, your heart center. Not necessarily the organ, but the interior space, the heart center space. Light shining from there, warm, expansive, resting there, breathing. Deep breath in and out, slow, looking around from the inside, looking out from the center of your being. Just rest and breathe and notice. What do you hear or feel or remember or see in this space, looking out from who you are? And now allow yourself to know what you need to know now. breathing, listening, feeling, seeing, knowing. Now take a deep breath in, fully in, slow, and all the way out, slow. Readjusting your shoulders, gently return to this time and place, readjusting your seating, breathing, and when you're ready, open your eyes to the position you began in. Return to your chair. Return your chair to its place, if you wish. And be ready to be here now.
As we bring our attention back to the space, we feel how we've become more spacious within ourselves as we opened up in the time of meditation. And so in that spacious awareness, we cultivate our awareness of generosity, the practice of giving to our spiritual home, to where we have received these sacred, ancient teachings that Unity shares that have been with us, practices of meditation and chanting and prayer. And so we give thanks for what we've received, and we give forward to allow these experiences to be provided and continued for ourselves and for others. Let's join together now in blessing our offering. You'll be able to give your offering in the sanctuary as well as online through our text to give or through our website. So we thank you in advance for your blessing tonight. Let's pray together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. And this is the truth, and so it is.
Right where I am, I couldn't be any closer. Right where I stand, the presence of God is holding my hand. I can feel this energy. It's real, it's all around me. This feel that heals me with this love, God's love.
Right where I am, I couldn't be any closer.
Thank you, David and Jean Marie. That was just beautiful. As I mentioned when we were in rehearsal and I heard them, didn't it sound like you were listening to the interior of a meditation, of hearing David meditate and then hearing Jean Marie and then hearing the sound of meditation happening, and what it feels like. Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you for bringing that to us this evening. It's actually pretty perfect for this, what I'm about to share with you, I hope, I trust. Tonight I'm just on the third chapter, really, of Radical Acceptance, which is the series we're working with, a book by Tara Brach, who's a Buddhist teacher. And it's reminding me, tonight we're talking about resting under the Bodhi tree. I don't know if you were here on Sunday listening to Reverend Michael, but he was talking about the Eastern religions, Hinduism and Buddhism, and he told the story of Siddhartha Gautama and how it was that he came to his enlightenment and how he awoke as the Buddha. And I'm going to give you a little bit more information about that because the way that it shows up in this book is really lovely. But it just reminded me of a time in my life when as many of you probably know, I was associate minister here in this ministry from about 94 till about 2001. And when I left the ministry here for full-time ministry, I was devoting my time to my daughters who were in junior high and moving into high school. So it felt like a dangerous time for both of them. It was, actually. But it was a great time for me to take some time off. And I had never done it in my entire life, taken any time between school. Since I was 6 years old and started school, I had been either in school or work or a combination of both. And so it was really powerful. I didn't know it would be 3 years before I would actually go back into full-time ministry. And I found that first I slept a lot, like 2 long naps a day. After a good night's sleep, even. I would get up and take the girls to school, then I'd come back and I'd come back and take a nap. I started to worry about myself. I thought there might be something wrong with me. Lots of daydreaming, lots of just fallow time, just nothing. It wasn't that I didn't have things to do around the house, but nothing was driving me. Nothing that couldn't wait till later or tomorrow or push it off a little bit. Lots of daydreaming. Big ideas came to me. Pictures about how things really worked began to develop in my mind. I practiced describing them out loud in words in case I would need to teach them, because they felt true, and they began to inform my understanding, a deeper understanding of my understanding about life and our place in it. And then I slowly got busy with tasks again and schedules that start to drive you and start to move you, And I found it almost foreign, like I was sleepwalking through them. I was so chill, Compared to the way I used to be very driven, I was much more like dreamlike. I marveled at how strange it felt to do the things that I once did without thinking about what I was doing. In other words, my mind wasn't with my hands in whatever it was I was doing. My hands were busy, but my mind was somewhere else. Maybe worried, maybe futurizing, maybe reworking something that already happened. But I was never really in my body, a lot of it. I was multitasking. You know what that is, right? That's like messing up everything in both directions, right? It's like you're not really as efficient as you think you are, but you end up redoing the thing you were working on because you lost your concentration or whatever. But whatever it was, I was busy all the time, and I was marveling at how hard that really had been and what a toll it had taken on me. As I got busier and picked up my career again, I cherished that consciousness, that peaceful, relaxed state where everything was okay, even when it wasn't okay. I found that I could go with the flow a lot better in that restful time. Joseph Campbell, a wonderful teacher, said, when before the beauty of a sunset or a mountain, you pause and exclaim, ah, you are participating in divinity in that moment. Not the mountain itself, not the sunset itself, but the divinity in you entering into a state of oneness, into a state of eternity, into a state of awe. That's where God is. That's where that freedom is. That is also where the nourishment is. Tara Brach describes the sacred pause that she talks about. She calls this sacred pause this way. She says, in a pause, we simply discontinue whatever we're doing. Thinking, talking, walking, writing, planning, worrying, eating, and become wholeheartedly present, attentive, and often physically still. Simply noticing what you're experiencing right now, just like you did in the meditation. What is happening right now? Right now. Join me right now. Breathe. Right now. Your whole heart, your whole body, your whole attention. This is a sacred moment that you give to yourself. A sacred pause. This is the key to healing, to transformation, actually. It is the key to enlightenment and the key to life itself. And it's that. There's no teaching involved in this. It's literally take a moment, pull out, pull out of whatever you're doing and just be present like a child is present to the wind, to the stars, to the flowers, to the trees, to a bird in the tree, to a bug on the ground, like that. This past Sunday, Reverend Michael was describing the story of Siddhartha, as I said, who became known as the Buddha. He was a rich prince, protected from seeing suffering, aging, death, and wandered out, escorted out, and began to see around the village, see around the city, see around the countryside, and journey to understand how to become liberated. He found out in all of the kingdom that he was over, he saw suffering, he saw aging, he saw death, and he wondered about it. And in this journey, he started his own unfolding, his own discovery, his own working out a path to become liberated from fear and pain and death. And for a while, he practiced a very severe form of asceticism, starving himself to almost the point of death. And then he got to a place of exasperation where nothing he was doing was working, nothing was saving him or keeping him from these experiences of death and starvation and pain and suffering. And he cried out, surely there must be another way to enlightenment. And as he closed his eyes, a dream-like memory arose. It was the annual celebration of the spring plowing, and his nurses had left him resting under a rose apple tree at the edge of the fields. And sitting in the cool shade of the tree, as a child, he watched the men at work, sweat pouring from their faces. He saw the oxen straining to pull its plow. In the cut grasses and the freshly overturned soil, he could see insects dying, their eggs scattered. Sorrow arose in Siddhartha for the suffering that all living beings experience. In the tenderness of this compassion, he felt deeply opened in his heart. Looking up, he was struck by how brilliantly blue the sky was. Birds were dipping and soaring freely and gracefully. The air was thick with the sweet fragrance of apple blossoms. In the flow and sacred mystery of life, there was room for the immensity of joy and sorrow. He felt completely at peace. He thought to himself, if, as a young, untrained child, he could taste freedom in this effortless and spontaneous way, then such a state must be a natural part of being human, he thought. Perhaps he could awaken by stopping the struggle, and as he had done as a child, meeting all of life with a tender and open, simple presence. And so, inspired by his childhood experience, Siddhartha began his final search for lasting freedom. So he bathed himself in the river. He accepted the sweet rice offering that was offered to him by a village maiden. And then he slept a deep sleep with wondrous dreams. And when he awoke, refreshed and strengthened, he once again sought solitude under the Bodhi tree, a fig tree, and resolved to remain in stillness there until he experienced full liberation. He sat himself down under this tree and resolved that he would not budge, he would not move, he would not respond to any need or want anything. He was making himself absolutely available to the changing stream of life. This attitude of neither grasping nor pushing or moving away from any experience has come to be known as the middle way, capital letters, the middle way. In the pause of not engaging, in the pause of lifting out, we, like Siddhartha, become available to whatever life brings, including the unfaced, unfelt parts of our psyche. When the Buddha-to-be resolved to pause under the Bodhi tree, he became fully face-to-face with the shadow side of human nature represented as the god Mara. In Sanskrit, Mara means delusion. Traditional stories speak of Mara as appearing in many forms: violent storms, temptingly beautiful women, raging demons, massive armies. When the temptress appears, Siddhartha could most certainly recognize the enormous lure of seduction. Yet he sat unmoving, neither grasping nor pushing away the longing that was arising in his body and in his mind. When Mara transformed into a gigantic, clawed and fanged demon that swooped through the air to attack him, Siddhartha bravely and mindfully opened to the fear he felt. Without fleeing or trying to fight back, he remained still. By paying attention instead of reacting, he saw beyond the delusion of separate self that imprisons us in suffering. Throughout the night, Siddhartha was assaulted by the armies of Mara in many forms, most of them his own base fears. As dawn approached, Mata issued his greatest challenge, demanding that Siddhartha defend his right to occupy the seat of freedom. In other words, justify himself. In response, the Buddha to be touched the ground, calling on the earth to bear witness to his thousands of lifetimes of compassion. The earth shook in violent affirmation, and darkness and thunder filled the skies. Terrified, Mara fled, and along with him, the final traces of delusion vanished. In this way, as the morning star appeared like a sparkling diamond on the horizon, Siddhartha had won his freedom. He realized his pure nature, loving, radiant awareness, and became the Buddha, the awakened one. When asked how he had become enlightened, he merely said, "I am awake. I see." There is a place in the bull ring when the matador is confronting a dangerous bull. There is a place in the ring where if the bull, a particular bull, goes to his particular place in the ring, he feels his safety. It's his place, his corner. Could be in the center of the ring, but wherever it is, it's where he gathers his strength. It's where he suddenly becomes centered and powerful, and that's when he becomes the most dangerous. And so an experienced matador always knows that where it is that this bull finds his place and keeps him, chases him, moves him, attracts him, enrages him, pokes him out of that place, so he does not ever have time to become that dangerous centered being. It's called querencia. It is that place of safety. In Kitchen Table Wisdom, Dr. Rachel Naomi Riemann, she talked about this phenomenon, this querencia, and she says for humans, this safe place is a place in our inner world. Often it is a familiar place that's not been noticed until a time of crisis. Sometimes it's a viewpoint, a position from which to conduct a life, different for each person. Often it's simply a place of deep inner silence. So when sometimes you're asked in a meditation or in a prayer time to go and imagine your place, your safe place, your place of, your happy place. Perhaps it's something in nature. Often it is, but it may be just a fond memory of really feeling loved, really feeling seen, really feeling cared for, rocked, loved, held, touched. That's your safe place where you draw in your strength. That's when you rest for a moment under the Bodhi tree, where no matter what comes at you, what swirls around you, you are still. You're in your safe place, resting, because this is who you are. This is your natural state. This is what is encoded into each of us. Our place, our querencia, our place where we draw strength. There was a woman that Tara Brock helped work through some issues. She had what Laura, her client, would call her mother. She had such strong issues with her mother that they were debilitating and it were affecting her marriage. because of the way in which, and her work as well, because of the way in which she dealt with her fear and her terror. Her mother was attacking, and her words were blistering. Her words were so abusive and so torturing. She called her mother the dragon because she felt she was being burned by the words her mother would use for her. And as she was being trained with Tara how to be still and how to breathe through some of the memories and some of the things that were going on, she began to learn how to find her own spaciousness in herself, a place where she could be present and feel and not run and not react and not yell and not resist. Instead, to feel what she felt and to know that she could be okay, even feeling these awful feelings that she would normally try to resist and try to run away from. And she practiced it one time in a very important period in her life after she'd been training with Tara how to move through these emotions. And she noticed that while her mother was still talking to her and still abusing her with her words, she was noticing the terror and the pain that she was feeling in her heart, how her throat and her heaviness in her heart were sharp pain and heaviness and heat. And she thought to herself, this feels horrible, and I can handle it. On the inside, she didn't have to run from it, she just felt it. And then she breathed and she felt a spaciousness open up inside of her. The sharp pain in her throat and chest began to dissolve. Her woundedness began to feel gently cared for by something on the interior. And when she looked over at her mother, Lara felt an upsurge of tenderness. She saw a woman ensnared in her own insecurity, words tumbling out of control out of her mouth. She saw her hands were tightened into fists that were impotent. But by the time that they parted late that evening, she was actually able to look her mother into her eyes, touch her arm, and even smile. She wasn't afraid. Under the layers of the sharp scales of the dragon, she had found her own soft and kind heart beating. Rainer Maria Rilke said, "How could we forget those ancient myths that stand at the beginning of all races? The myths about dragons that at the last moment are transformed into princesses. Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are only princesses waiting for us to act just once with beauty and courage. Perhaps everything that frightens us is, in its deepest essence, something helpless that wants our love, our compassion." So to practice the sacred pause, to discover where your querencia is in every living moment, does not require a meditative practice or a big setting or spaced out time. It only requires that you take a moment to pull yourself out of whatever has got your attention and bring your attention to the moment of what is happening here. There are many moments, showering, walking, driving, when we release our preoccupations and are simply aware and we're letting life happen around us. We may pause at seeing new green in spring. Have you done that? Where you just know, that is impossibly green grass. Impossibly green leaves. They look so tender and fragile. I don't remember the trees looking like that. I know I do it. Or in the supermarket, we may pause to gaze at the freshness of an infant's face and just think, how beautiful. When we finally understand a problem that we've been grappling with, our pause may be a sigh as our body and mind relax. Finally, that will do it. That's the answer. At the end of a long day, we may experience a natural pause when we lie down in bed and let everything go at last. We can also purposefully pause during regular activities. Tara says, I often pause before getting out of my car and simply feel what's going on inside of me. Sometimes after I hang up the phone, I stop. I'll just sit at my desk, breathing, listening, not doing the next thing, just taking a moment. Or I might stop cleaning the house for a moment and simply listen to the music that I'd put on to keep myself company. We can choose to pause on the top of a mountain or in a subway while we are with others or meditating alone. In any living moment, in any given time, throughout the day, stop. I know someone who practices when they take their keys out before they put it into the lock. Pause. Breathe. Notice. Now. Just simple things. Ajahn Buddhadasa says, calls these pauses temporary nirvana. Living things would either die or become insane, he says. Instead, we survive because there are natural periods of coolness, of wholeness and ease. In fact, they last longer than the fires of our grasping and our fear. And having these moments of nirvana, that's what sustains us. That's where we get our energy, our querencia. Terry Tempest Williams says, to protect what is wild is to protect what is gentle. Perhaps the wilderness we fear is the pause between our own heartbeats. In the silent space that says we live only by grace. Wilderness lives by this same grace. Wild mercy is in our hands. Rest under the Bodhi tree as often as you can. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Karen. Just want to pause. To feel this moment. This moment. I'm so connected with your message tonight and your sharing about being mindful in your home. I had the opportunity to do a 4-day insight meditation retreat in my home this weekend. And a big part of it was being mindful right when washing the dishes, to actually just wash the dishes, not be off and thinking about what to do next and all that. Just wash the dishes, just fold the clothes, just open the door, just be outside, breathe. Just so simple how we can be in the moment and realize that nirvana that you talked about, that we think, or at least I can say for myself, I think about the Buddha becoming enlightened and under the Bodhi tree, like that's something far off, and that we can just experience that momentary enlightenment when we're just paused and open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was riveted throughout your talk, and various times I would even check in on myself just staying present as you were speaking and reflecting on the zen of orange peeling, the zen of dishwashing, and then I did think of a practical application of these principles in my daily living, and it is we have thoughts and we have feelings, we have sensations, and they dominate our attention much of our lives. And it's lovely to say, well, just take a sacred pause and just notice this moment. And I remembered something from my past, and that is, who's doing the noticing? And I just call it my witness self. So it is a part of me, of course, but it isn't identifying with my body or even my thoughts or my feelings, my emotions, my sensations. It's much bigger than that, and it is sacred. It feels divinely connected to something. And so what is that gets to observe my experience? And I call those moments as identifying with my divinity. My witness self can identify with that which is eternal. It's not a part of my daily living. It is something much greater than that. And it allows me, therefore, to reflect on my daily living with a different perspective. And for me, it's been really powerful when it happens in moments of intensity. Like I like listening to a sermon, or sometimes just in cleaning the house, if I can just sort of notice that I'm noticing what I'm doing. And I'll pull myself back a little bit. It makes everything a bit more present, a little bit more joyous.
Well, and you're nourishing yourself. I mean, I don't want to I don't think we can overstate. And it was what I think it was Ajahn, Buddhadasa said, that in fact, this is what sustains us. This little bit of nirvana, this momentary pulling ourselves out. We think this is our life, a handful of this and a handful of that and my foot on the pedal and, going 90 miles a minute. I think that's my life I'm living. But I'm not really even in this hand or that foot, I don't drive with my left foot. Oh, this foot, or, whatever. It's like, I'm not in any of that. I think in some ways, I'm disconnected from it even. I may be doing it and an event may bring me back into my body, but I'm 90% of the time, my mind is somewhere else. I'm out ahead, I'm out behind, I'm over there, I'm already getting to the destination, I'm making plans, I'm listening to the radio, I'm doing my mind is somewhere else because it's not tagged to this or this necessarily, right? So I think that's not living wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly means wholly present. And so when we pull ourselves out, when I pay attention to this moment right now, fully here, I'm renourished, I'm reconnected. You said it, I'm in divinity, I'm fully whole. This is divinity. This is us.
I'm inspired by your calling us out that is our natural state. That is the real us, as it were, and then all the doingness that is a bit of a distraction.
Well, and the reason I say that is because Siddhartha used that model himself, his child self. When did he ever feel the freedom that he was seeking as an adult? And it was when he was a child, just observing, no needs, no expectations, simply being present, and had a spiritual experience where the sky was so blue, and he remembers he was literally had a transcendent moment, and he knows that what did he do to make that happen? Why, nothing. He was present to what was and how natural that was, and that's what gave him the idea that all of his striving wasn't going to get him there, that it was instead becoming very still and awake. And that's what he did to become the teacher he became.
And it is a practice, because as I listen, I'm reminded about what Alan Watts used to say about meditation. I'm definitely a product of Western thinking. And in my early days of reading and learning about meditation and even practicing meditation, it was in order to get to somewhere. It was meditating in order to be happier, to be quiet, to be something, or whatever. And Alan Watts and other great teachers have said, yeah, no, that's sort of the evidence of not meditating. Meditating is just meditating. So to consider resting under the Bodhi tree as our natural state, okay, all right, that's why I came tonight.
Well, and it's also, isn't it beguilingly easy? I mean, it's like, that's it? That's what I have to do? It's like, I can do that because it's our natural state. I am a big proponent of this spirituality thing. There aren't rules and steps and numbers and all of that. There's none of that. It is our natural state to withdraw from everything that distracts us, everything that grabs our attention, everything that pulls us out of our body, and everything that puts us back into our body is spiritual, sacred life, right?
Perfect way to move into prayer. Thank you, Karen and David. Experiencing the sacred once again as we center into our inner awareness and open into our compassionate heart that knows that there is suffering, there is struggle, there are those who we know and those we may not know, but we know of, that we would like to send a blessing to see healed and prospered, having their needs met. And so now is the time that we speak those names, those situations and conditions into the sacred space of prayer together so that we can hold them in light as one. Speak those names now. Affirming peace, love, harmony, wholeness, health and healing. Grateful in advance that Spirit is already at work in these lives. And so we maintain that awareness as we go forward beyond this prayer, holding to our faith in the healing power of God at work to make all things new. For this, we are truly grateful, and so it is. Amen. of the gifts of being here in the pyramid tonight is that we have prayer available for you, and we have a unity prayer partner here to pray with you. And so after the service, please, whatever is on your heart, join in prayer with Ermi, who is here to pray with you and to bless you with prayer. We're so grateful for your service tonight, Ermi.
So let us close our service this evening with speaking our prayer for the welfare of all beings, our metta practice.
Namaste, namaste, namaste. Go shine your light.